Okay, so my group diversity project topic is bilingualism. The question for our project is in what ways does bilingualism affect the classroom experience and academic achievements of students in kindergarten through 12th grade? And right now I'm working with the pre-Kers, so they are 4 to 5 years old, and I have a lot of diverse students in my class and that talk a different language at home, and we are currently teaching them like the alphabet and the sounds of the alphabet, and not many of them have like a problem learning the alphabet or whatever, and I don't see a difference in their learning at school in English or their learning at home in their home language. But now in the older grades, when the learning is crucial and when we think about when we go and teach, these questions kind of come into my head. One of them is, how do we view children's home language compared to their English? Another one is, how do their views of home language play a role in the curriculum? And have children's views been modeled from daycares or preschools or their Young Fives class? And my last question that comes to my head is, what differences does it make for children that have a different home language rather than English in their current or future classrooms? And the definition of English learner status implies insufficient skills in English, specifically English learners, children deemed to lack sufficient English skills necessary to succeed independently in English-only classrooms. And one statistic that stood out to me in my first article, which is called "The Subject of Subjectivity: Preparing Teachers with Knowledge, Skills, and Dispositions Needed for Empowering Emergent Bilingual Students," was, by the year 2030, over 40% of the kindergarten through 12 population in the U.S. public school system will be children whose first language is not English, which is compared to in 2000, which was only 8.1. And then my first article also goes in depth about the different ways pre-service teachers like us who are currently in school to get our teaching degree, what we really have to think about when it comes to having a student that has a different at-home language than us. And the research question they used is, which attributes of each model strengthen pre-service teachers' abilities to support the needs of emergent bilingual students in their classroom, and why? There were 3 different groups that they used in this article. And one is the traditional model, which addresses the needs of emergent bilingual students through the most traditional ways of teaching, which many of us will certify in, as in get our degree in, what we're going to school for now. And they found that the traditional model, that many teachers have had many opportunities to learn more about teaching the bilingual students, but were never pushed in the right direction, and because of that, they never knew the difficulties of having a emerging bilingual student in their classroom, and how the difficulties of teaching them English compared to their at-home language differs. And then the next group was the student-selected add-ons, which added on coursework in order to get English as a second language teaching certificate, which is just added on certificates to be more informed about teaching bilingual students that first language is not English. And this research found that this model showed that these teachers recognize the importance of the emergent bilingual students' use of their home language while supporting them with the needs of knowledge, skills, and dispositions. that they need to be able to teach these bilingual students in English instead of their at-home language, because they are put into a public school that is mainly English. And then the last group in this article is the intentionally integrated model, which thoughtfully brings in opportunities to learn the need of knowledge, skill, and dispositions to help teach emergent bilingual students and teachers everyday curriculum. And this group showed they included everything they learned to help emergent bilingual students in their everyday lesson plans, which also ended up helping many of their English students. So when they were teaching words, they would show pictures of what the word was, and then they would spell it out on like the board, and then they would go through each letter and have the children practice spelling out and sounding out the letters, which also helped like the students that only spoke English with their literacy and vocabulary and stuff. So my second article is the change in pre-service teacher beliefs about inclusion, responsibility, and culturally responsiveness for English language learners. This article interested me because now that we are in COVID times, the article basically went through a program that they studied called EPAL, which basically set up the student teachers with a emergent bilingual student. And they both were assigned a book that went along with the curriculum, and they were basically pen pals and the student teacher helped the emergent bilingual student get through the book and help them with the vocabulary and the pronunciation of words and getting through the book. And that was basically what that article was about, but I found that really cool because now that all the school is online, that would be like a good idea for now to help the kids that are emergent bilingual students to get through the school grades now that are online. Two more of my articles, which are called Speaking and Reading in Two Languages, on the identification of reading and language disabilities in Spanish-speaking English learners, and moving forward by looking back, understanding why some Spanish-speaking English learners fall behind. Both talk about how English language learners learn better when they don't switch back and forth between a Spanish learning environment and an English learning environment, meaning one grade they're learning in Spanish, like second grade, and then they move to third grade and they're learning straight in English. And we see the biggest gap of like learning problems and falling behind in third grade because of the standardized tests that third graders need to take before they are able to move up into fourth grade. That shows their readiness in both reading and writing and pretty much all literacy. And right now, the reading skills of almost 70% of all Spanish-speaking English learners in fourth grade are below basic levels, opposed to only the 20% that are non-English language learners, which their only language is English, and that's at 27% compared to the 70%, which negatively impacts academic success of these children. And then one thing that might surprise everyone is that students who begin in kindergarten as an English learner and their at-home language is different than English are not in the English language learner category because of their increase of the proficiency that they have in the English language. So since they started learning in English in kindergarten, and when they get to third grade, most of their curriculum is in English, they're not considered an English language learner anymore. But all Spanish-speaking English learners are at risk for low academic achievement. They are also at risk to attend public schools and score lower on state tests than their native English-speaking peers and interact with other students who primarily live at or below the poverty line. And so my last article is called English Language Learner Teacher Effectiveness and the Common Core. It emphasizes how Common Core standards make it hard for teaching literacy, which we learned in our previous chapters in our book in class about the Common Core. So some of you know a little bit about that. But the Common Core standards increased the language and literacy demands in the curriculum, which just made it even harder for even the the people that already spoke English to learn the new literacy demands that the government wanted to put in the curriculum throughout the United States. So this means that teachers teaching English language learners are going to need double the support to ensure that English language learners are getting the knowledge they need to succeed. And a couple examples that they used in the article were doing the after-school meetings with teachers, going over new curriculum and how they can incorporate ways to help the English language learners to understand the new curriculum in the Common Core standards. And then so teachers are seeing these demands in other subject areas, as in not only in language arts, but they're seeing it also in science and math and art even. And the ways they see it in math is in like the story problems, they're using different words rather than basic words that you would normally see before. And we've learned all in Common Core, well, most of us. And then so they have to, in like story problems, and many kids have to explain their answers further than just the number that they get. And they see an increase in language to describe situations and to construct and present arguments using evidence to support the claims that they are using in their arguments. So the Common Core is pretty much a cognitive overload that is involved in learning both the language and content, places additional strains on English language learners. And many require additional instructional scaffolding for language and content, which just basically means that when they have their teacher, like when we have days off for the teacher days that they are in school learning things, they are learning more about how to incorporate curriculum with the English bilingual learners. And that was basically that article. Learning about bilingualism in schools makes me really think about if I'm ever going to have someone who at home language is not English, and it's most likely, since 70% of the public school system is going to be Spanish speaking kids. So this really just like makes me think that many teachers should be required to maybe learn a second language and maybe earn different degrees or certifications in just like helping teach English language learners. And